Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Mark Henderson with Department of English, Modern Foreign Languages, and Speech Communication here at Jackson State University. First of all, I would like to thank the athletic department for inviting me to share with you some communication tips. This is very important, and I'm excited about it. And I think it's very important to share this information because sometimes we tend to believe that if we're not a communications major, if we're not a speech major, a mass comm major, then why do I need to know about all these different communication things? I'm glad you asked that question. I try to focus this presentation based on a comment that I heard about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a president of a Fortune 500 company who came to Jackson State University to speak. And what the president of that company shared with us is that we have students graduating from HBCUs like Jackson State and other credible HBCUs who graduate with great GPAs. They graduate with 3 A's, 3 9s, 4 O's. They have wonderful GPAs, but they can't get the job. And the reason they can't get the job is because they can't get past the interview. And the reason they can't get past the interview is that their communication skills are not good. And what we want to do today is try to enhance those communication skills, because in life, you can't use the excuse, I'm from this neighborhood or that neighborhood or wherever you're from. Communication is key. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint that I'm going to share with you today. That communication is key. And we're going to go through this PowerPoint. Communication is key. And that's the most important thing to realize. And what I want you to recognize in this is that good speech will open more doors for you than a college degree. And bad speech will close doors that you never knew existed. That goes back to what that Fortune 500 president was saying, is that yes, you got the GPA, you have the good grades, but you can't get through the interview because your speech patterns are not good. And I know you're saying, I know what most of us are saying is that, hey, when it comes time to speak, I know how to speak. Well, if you've never been taught to properly speak, you're going to end up either sounding like, what you think is a good speech pattern. And so what we're going to do today is try to give you a speech pattern. And I'm not asking you to change who you are. I'm just asking you to be able to adjust. I want you to know that people will assess your intellect based on your dialect. Say that for the people in the back of the room. People will assess your intellect based on your dialect. If those of us who are from the South, I'm from Canton, Mississippi, and people tend to say about those of us from the South that we're country. And what they're saying, they're not saying country in a sense of complimenting you like you got this big ranch and serene. They're saying your country, they're trying to call you slow and backwards. So people will start assessing your intellect based on your dialect. And we know that's not true, because you can be from the South, you can be from the North. That has nothing to do with your intellect, but people will assess you based on that. People make judgments about you based on the way you say words. I had a student who came to me some time ago, and he was talking. He said, Doc, I need some advice about this girl that I just met. We hadn't met face to face, but we were talking on the phone and we had good conversation. The conversation was going great. And I just wanted to know how she looked. So I asked her, would she describe herself for me? I said, you ask her what? Would she describe herself to me? I want to see. I said, did you say describe or describe? He said, yeah, describe. Now think about it, ladies. Think about it. No matter how impressive a person is in the conversation, they say, describe yourself. All of a sudden, you start making a different assessment of that person based on their choice of words. That's how powerful it is. People make assessments about people based on their choices of words that they use. So in our country, there are dialects. There are regional dialects. And I'm laying this foundation so we can go to where we need to go in this discussion. Obvious regional dialects means that when you meet someone from these areas, you automatically know they're from this area. The first is Eastern. Eastern consists of states like New York, DC, Jersey. DC is really not a state, but New York, DC, New Jersey. Now, if you meet somebody from there, they might say father, my father, the core. Then we have Midwestern. and Midwesterns are states like Michigan, Illinois, and Missouri. You might hear the dialect, they say father, a car, or hard. Then we got Southern. Southern states like Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee will say car. That test was hard. Why are you breaking my heart? So it's the Eastern, Midwestern, and Southern. Now, within these regional dialects, we have subdialects. Now, in the Eastern, a subdialect might be when they say like Jersey, my shirt, I'm from Jersey, or over in DC, my brother in DC, man, like Biggie. In Midwestern, you have a subdialect, which is a dialect within the major dialect. That dialect might be like in St. Louis, they say her, or nearly like, you hear me pumping in my Air Force One, I want to perfume me. Yeah, that's more of a subdialect of a Midwestern. And then in the South, we have subdialects for maybe the New Orleans, baby, kids in the New Orleans. I'm probably murdering it. Even in Mississippi, there are people who are from the Delta part of Mississippi who have different dialects than people from Central Mississippi. If you're from East Mississippi, like Waynesboro, Heidelberg, you might say my wife or my driver's license. It's a different dialect, subdialects. All these exist. Now, I'm not telling you to change who you are. I want you to understand that, because if you're from the Midwest, you're from the East, from the South, that's part of who you are. But what I want you to do is we're gonna focus on the Midwestern style. And the reason I'm focusing on Midwestern style, because Midwestern is considered standard American diction. They used to call it good American diction, but they took the word good out because good would suggest that it's better than something else. This is standard American diction. And the reason I teach standard American diction is because the majority of radio and television broadcasters in the entire North American continent uses it. National and international radio, television broadcasters, they will use standard American diction. They won't use Boston. They won't talk like that on the national news in Boston. And they won't talk like the New Orleans on the national news. Now, on the local news, you may get it. Because in Mississippi, you get the local news. It's going to be 30% rain today, and it's cloudy. And you might get that. That's okay. That's local. But Midwestern is the standard. And you say, well, why do I need to embrace Midwestern? Because the movers and the shakers of society embrace it. And that's what you're trying to do. And that's what I believe college is about. College is not teaching you not only how to play the game, but how to win the game. And you win the game by sounding like you're a winner of the game. Like I said, I'm not asking you to overthrow who you are, but the movers and the shakers of society, the ones who's going to change the world, they use standard American diction. There's a book entitled Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's a good book. It talks about what rich kids teach their parents, rich parents teach their kids that poor parents don't. And one of the things rich parents do, they say, if you want to be rich, you got to start acting like you're rich, sounding like you're rich. And I'm not saying being fake, but using the king's language, standard American diction, because people will assess you based on your dialect. Now, what I want you to do is we're going to learn this concept called code switching. See, code switching is switching out of the code that you're in to fit the appropriate code that you're trying to be impressive with. That's why I say, I don't want you to lose who you are. I'm from Kent, and I love my Kentism. I love my Southernness. I don't want to lose it because it's a part of who I am. It's my language. But I want to be able to code switch, which means I need to go to another one that's more acceptable. And the question might be, why do we have to do this to be acceptable? Because you want to win at the game of life. Our jobs as educators is not only to teach you the game of life, but how to win at the game of life. And being a great communicator will help you win at the game of life. Now, just like it's important to know when to code switch to standard American diction, if you're not a standard American speaker, you got to know when to code switch out of standard American diction. For example, everybody who knows me knows that I'm a spades player. I love playing spades. I'll take anybody on. So, hey, come on, bring it on. I love spades. But when I'm playing spades with my boys and with my friends, they don't want me to say, hey, if you send that card around here, I'm going to cut it. I think I have 4 books. And they would like not want to play with me. They would be like, I want to be, man, I got 4. I'm cut y'all side. I'm siding y'all the next. And I know to say I'm siding y'all is not good, but I'm not going to go to my spade game and say, I'm setting you all the next game. So you got to know when the code switch out. Because if I go home this weekend to my mom's, I don't want to say, mother, are you cooking collards today? People don't want to be around that because that's not really who I am. My language represents who I am. And it's not to say everybody talks like that and that you don't talk like that, you lost your blackness, you lost your southernism. But whatever your language is, that's okay. That's quite okay. But I want you to be able to code switch into something that's going to be more acceptable to the interviewers that's going to be interviewing you. Now, in order to learn Standard American Diction, I'm hoping you said, okay, Doc, you convinced me, I need to have some Standard American Diction. There are 2 rules of Standard American Diction. And if you follow these rules, you'll be okay. The first rule says, do not add, delete, or substitute sounds or letters in a word. That's where we mess up. We have a tendency to do this. I'm going to give you some examples of this. Do not add, do not delete, do not substitute. What do you mean I said do not add sounds or letters? Don't take a word and add sounds and letters to it. For example, the word, and I know this is relevant to most of you all, you probably heard it. The word is athlete, not athlete. Don't say, well, he's very or she's very athletic. You might not even hear that, but people will hear it and people will start judging you instantly start judging you based on the sounds that you use. The word, if you're from Chicago, you're from Chicago, Illinois, not Illinois. The screen might be awkward because I didn't line this stuff up right. Illinois, not Illinois. It's a burglar. And we have to get on the mass comm people about this. Sometimes when they're reporters, they go and find the people who are the most unrepresentative to be on camera. And this lady once was saying, I was sitting in the house with my daughter and I heard a noise and I said, oh, I hope it's not a burglar. The word is burglar, not a burglar, okay? Now, sometimes, you have, especially at church can mess you up sometimes. I go to church, but small town, small church, but you have this lady who reads the announcement and sometimes she overdoes it. She'll overdo it. The word is evening, but she'll get up and say, good evening. It's not evening, it's just simply good evening. Don't add evening. Usher. Now there's a performer and those are people at the church. Don't say usher. Now Ludacris gets away with it, he says usher in his music, that might be his little thing, but hey, usher. And you got to be careful in church sometime because, we got people who will throw some words at you. You got, that don't sound right. Like this word is sword, not a sword. I know the preacher would say, oh, let the Lord be your sword and your shield. It's spelled with the W, but the W lost the sound throughout time in our language, so it's sword. Second rule of Standard American Diction is don't delete sounds or letters in a word. Don't delete it. Don't delete the sounds or letters. Delete means you're taking it out. For example, students go to the library, not the library. Okay? You to get the wrinkles out your clothes, you iron, not iron. Don't be, hey man, call me back, I'm ironing. No, okay. Orange. Don't delete and take out and get orange. Okay, now this might mess you up. I know that in the 2nd grade, Ms. Brown told you that picture and picture were homonyms. They're spelled differently, but they sound alike. They're not. There's a difference between a picture and a picture. The picture is what you take with a camera. The picture is what you put your Kool-Aid in. So don't go around telling people, you want to see my prom pictures, my graduation pictures? It's not a picture, it's a picture. Got it? Probably, not probably or probably or probably. Next, do not substitute sounds or letters in a word. Substitute means we just take it out. We got to be careful now. I don't mean to bring in racial components in it, but research has shown that this example I'm about to give you is more representative in uneducated Black Americans. I didn't do the research, I was just reporting it. That says many uneducated Black Americans, which you might not be uneducated, but what they're saying, people will assess you as uneducated. We would take this, that, those, and them, and make them this, that, those, and them. I was at a church once and the pastor said, "This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day that the Lord has made." And I'm sitting here, not judging, but I'm like, it hits your ears in a different way. So don't substitute. Ask. The word is not ask. Ooh, I hope the teacher don't ask me. The teacher asks you, the teacher is kind of violent. So it's ask. Street, straight, and strawberry, excuse me. Street, straight, and strawberry, not screet, scrape, and strawberry. All right, we got that. Naked. Naked and not naked. Naked, not naked. Now, this is a word that we substitute, and many of us don't even know what we substituted with. The word back. I'm gonna give you a second to think. What do we substitute the word back with? It's a letter that we substituted with. Don't know. We have a tendency to not say back. We'll say bag. Get in your car. I was bagging up. Bag up, man. Girl, you look good. Won't you bag that? Okay. Bag up. Back, not bag. Back. Okay, got that. Second rule of standard American diction is when pronouncing words, if the first syllable is stressed, the other syllables are usually unstressed, which means that sometimes we overly stress our syllables. We'll take these words right here. If I ask you to pronounce these words, more than likely I would hear, pronounce them. I'm not hearing it, but I imagine what you're saying, pronounce it. You're probably saying president, accident, measurement, department. You're like, yeah, that's what they are. No, if you pronounce it like that, you broke the rule, the number 2 rule. It's not president, it's the president. President, accident. I saw an accident, not an accident. Measurement, not measurement. I work in the speech department, not department, not speech department. You can't hit both syllables. You will never hear them say, introducing President Biden. They'll say, introducing President Biden, president. I saw a really bad accident. What are your measurements? What major is your department? Got it? Detroit, not Detroit. When you say Detroit, you're hitting both syllables. Detroit, not Detroit. It's the police, not the police. Now, if you're trying to use slang and say the po-pos, or you're trying to be slang, it's that police, but it's not standard American diction, it's police. Now, at church, I know, once again, I'm not picking on the church, but it's not visitors. It's just simply visitors. Not to all our visitors. There is no such word as interesting. No such word as interesting. The word is interesting. Look at the word and take ing off at the end. You would have an interest in someone. That makes that person interesting. You don't have an interest in them, which would make them interesting. You have an interest, which makes them interesting, okay? And no such word, I'm gonna go back to that. There's no such word as funeralized, okay? I don't know if you've heard it before, but I've heard people say Sister Jones will be funeralized. Maybe it's a Canton thing, but It doesn't exist. Now, also, no such word as conversate, okay? The word is converse. You can have a conversation, but the word is converse. No such word, well, converse, no such word as irregardless. The dictionary is thinking about adding irregardless as a word, but it's not. Just say regardless. And if you're at home and your mama want to make some hamburger helper tonight, she might call and tell you to unthaw that meat. That's not right. That means to freeze it. She really means to thaw it. So not unthaw. And so that's kind of a thrust of what I wanted to go over in terms of why it is important for you to learn good communication skills. Now, notice I've been saying I'm not trying to get you to learn good speaking skills. Speaking skills are good, but I really want you to be a good speaker, but I also want you to be a great communicator. And there's a difference between being a good speaker and a good communicator. Good speakers know how to use the words, but a good communicator knows when to use it. Have you been around friends, or you have those friends who you take around other friends or family members and people, and you're just hoping and praying that they don't say the wrong thing? Those people don't have good social skills, good communication skills. They might sound good saying it, but they just saying stuff that they shouldn't be saying. So I want you to be a good speaker, but I want you to be a good communicator. I want you to have a connection to what you say. Have you gone to certain classes and certain teachers who teach the same course as another teacher, but you're able to get it from that teacher better than the other teacher? Or either going to a church and then the preacher, just something about the way they sound, the way they speak, you can get the message. You got to make sure when you speak, and this is more so for those of you who want to go beyond just learning good communication skills. You want to be able to be a performer or a newscaster or maybe a sports analyst or something. You want to make sure your words, you're connected to your words. Because when you're connected to your words, it goes that what comes from the heart reaches the heart. You know, you've heard people who say things to you, but it sounds so fake and you don't believe it. But what comes from the heart reaches the heart. If you're sincere, your words will glean and come out as sincere. There's a story that of a convention. It was a church convention. It's a guy, he talks about church a lot. There's a story of a church convention, and that was a young man who was asked to recite the 23rd Psalm for a program. He got up and he did the 23rd Psalm. For those of you who don't know the 23rd Psalm, you need to learn it. Everybody should know that one. Well, not say should, but everybody learned that in Bible school, Sunday school. But anyway, he got up and did the 23rd Psalms. He was like, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want it." And when he got through, people gave him a standing ovation because he was so articulate. But that was an old, uneducated man at the convention. He said, "You know, I love that 23rd Psalm. It's my favorite psalm." He said, "Touches my heart. Do y'all mind if I share it with you too?" He said, "I love the 23rd Psalm. It speaks to my soul." That old man got up and he recited the 23rd Psalm because he had learned it in Sunday school. And when he finished, people were crying. And the question was, why is it that the young man, in all of his articulation, only got a standing ovation, but the old man got tears? And the response was, the young man knew the psalm, but the old man knew the shepherd. So when he got up and spoke about the Lord is my shepherd, and he leads me beside still water, he restores my soul, y'all. He prepared the table before me. He did all that kind of stuff, and he meant it. It came from the heart. And when it comes from the heart, it reaches the heart. Now, what I want you to take from this is you're in college. And college is designed to change you for the better. A college degree doesn't mean that you're better than someone else. It means you're better off. And when you leave college, you shouldn't think the way you thought before you came to college. You should think wiser and deeper. You shouldn't act the way you acted before you came to college. You shouldn't speak the way you spoke before you came to college. Your communication should have grown. And you see that happening with you. And some of you all are just you're battling with it. You see it happening because when you go home that first year after freshman year for Christmas break or summer break, you notice it's hard to kind of stay friends and close with the people who didn't go to college because, you know, you want to converse and talk about new things and they're staying in that same space. You want to talk about step shows and homecoming and being on the yard, and they want to talk about who got who pregnant, who's still working at Piggly Wiggly, how much Frog paid for his rims on his car. And you're just hoping to get back to school because your experiences have changed. And then they'll say to you, oh, you've gotten to college and you've changed. And we get defensive. No, I hadn't changed, I had changed. That's not an insult, it's a compliment. You're supposed to change. You're supposed to change for the better. Not saying that you act different or act funny with your friends because those people are going to be there for you when nobody else is there. But learn that in order for you to move to this new level of greatness, communication-wise, you got to learn how to allow yourself to be in the company of people who want to change. If you're around people who never want to change, they're always doing the same thing, you're going to stay right where you are. And you won't even notice that you're not changing. If you've ever gone to a person's house and they have an odor in their house, a bad odor, they act like they don't even smell the odor. And then after you get in there, if you've been in there long enough, you don't smell it anymore. And after you leave, the odor's on you. It's the same thing with your ability to grow as a communicator and whatever you want to do. If you only deal with people who don't want to grow, at first you see that they don't want to grow, but the more you're around them, you don't notice it anymore. And when you get away from around them, you notice that you don't even have the same get up and go like you used to. You used to go to class every semester. Every day you were in class. Then you met this new friend, you all hang out. They don't go as much. Then you at first you're like, man, you need to go to class. You need to stay good. Now, all of a sudden, now you don't go as much because they begin to affect you. So that's what college is about. And I'll end by saying this. I've always said, don't ask if a student has gone through college, but has college gone through the student? And when college has gone through you, we'll see the difference. We'll see that you're a better communicator. We'll see that you're a better speaker. We'll see that you're a better thinker. You're an overall better person because that's what college is designed to do. Now, I just want to say I'm availing myself. I'm sure your advisor will give you my information, my email, my phone number, whatever it is. I'm here to help you move to that new level of greatness that you want to move to when it comes to communication. I'm located in Rose McCoy Auditorium in the main office. Anytime you want to come by, just shoot the breeze and talk and let's work on some communication skills. I'm here because I want you to remember, if you don't remember anything else, I want you to remember that good communication skills will open more doors for you than a college degree. And bad skills will close doors you never knew existed. Go take on the day and be a great communicator. Thank you.